In today's episode of First World Problems, I had OBS set up to record my workout, started up Zwift, did my thing, didn't even realize that OBS crashed in the background and didn't even record my very first interval. But before you get sassy with me, it's on Strava, so it happened. It's right there. See, I did it. What is going on, all of you lovely people? My name is Sarah. Welcome to another video, and I hope each and every one of you is having an absolutely spectacular day. Yes, even amid all the tumult here in the United States during this here, our election week 2020, but hopefully this video can provide some distraction and a little bit of entertainment to pull you away from the vicious news cycle that just doesn't seem to go away. And as endurance athletes, I think we'd much rather just let the whole world blow up around us as long as we can do our swim, bike, and run, right? But hopefully I can provide just that for you. If you are new to the channel, thanks for coming on board, and I hope that you'll consider subscribing. And if you've been here before, well, you damn well know what you're in for, and thank you so much for coming back. But today you're going to join me for the third cycling workout of the Zwift Academy Tri series, and I'm going to be taking on the VO2 Max Short Interval workout. Now this workout, if you follow along for the Zwift Academy Road series, is very much like workout number 7, which was VO2 Development, I believe is the name of that one. It's very similar in terms of microburst style intervals, very short periods of high intensity with very short periods of rest, and then the sets are broken up with a few minutes of rest in between those. So I'm going to do the workout so I can put it into context for you with some of the on-screen instructions and any experiential data that I might pull out of the workout that's not in the coach's notes or in the two-dimensional graph. Hopefully I can give you some tips to come into this workout, much like I did in number 7, because I know this is going to be a tough one. Wasn't really feeling well all day today, tried to get a little rest, but it seems to be, for me, when I'm not feeling well and I lay around, I just feel worse. So I'm going to get on the bike, do my best on this workout, and hopefully I'll come out feeling a little bit better. But without any further verbosity or procrastination, I'm going to get my ass on this session, and I'll let you know how it goes when I'm done. Today's episode of First World Problems, I had OBS set up to record my workout, started up Zwift, did my thing, didn't even realize that OBS crashed in the background and didn't even record my very first interval. But before you get sassy with me, it's on Strava, so it happened. It's right there. See, I did it. Even if Dan Plews did spend 60 minutes demonstrating how he's a bit of a dick, I did the workout. Just kidding, Dan. Love you. But at any rate, Dan does a really good job at not wasting the athlete's time. As an athlete himself, a good coach, and a very strong exercise scientist, he doesn't put any fluff in these workouts at all. Now, there's a time or place for those extra long recovery sets. When you're doing those maximal efforts, sometimes you get more recovery than you need because you're looking to maximize on your power. But in this workout, you're going to be working at a decent VO2 max level, but not so high that you need that full recovery. So this workout is more designed to maximize on that repeatability when you're already fatigued. So this is more event readiness than it is just maximal power repeatability. So it's a good workout. You're not going to get a whole ton of rest, but you are going to get a good deal of training stress, load, and repeatability work in this workout. So let me go through the workout structure. It's very straightforward. It's pretty much repeating itself 4 times. So we'll start from the beginning, as one normally does for these things, because typically when you start the workout at the end, you really don't make very many adaptations. I mean, you could try, but I don't really think that's going to work for you. But it's a 10-minute warm-up set starting at 45% of your FTP and peaking at 80% of your FTP. Then from that 80%, you're not going to get a recovery valley here. You're going to go right into some priming or preparatory sets, which is 5 by 15 seconds at 118% of your FTP, followed by 45 seconds of rest at 55% of your FTP. So 15 seconds on, 45 seconds off, 5 times. And that 118% of your FTP, wrap your head around that number because that's going to be the same number that we use for every other on interval for the rest of the workout. So after you do that 5 by 15 on, 45 seconds off, you will get a 2-minute recovery valley at that 55% of FTP. Then we're going to work into the main sets. And this is very straightforward. It's going to be structured as 4 by 6 minutes. And these sets are going to be broken down identically for each of the 6 minutes. So I'll describe in detail how that 6 minutes is structured, the rest that you're going to get, and then you'll just know that you repeat that 4 times for the remainder of the workout. So the 6 minutes is structured as follows. It's broken down into 1-minute intervals, which is further broken down into the working and rest segments. And you're gonna start with 1 minute that is 50 seconds on at that 118% of FTP and 10 seconds off. Then that's gonna be at 55% of FTP. Then you go to 40 seconds on at 118% and 20 seconds off at 55%. Then you're going to go to 30 seconds on at 118% of your FTP and 30 seconds off. Then you swing back again to 50 seconds on, 118%, 10 seconds off, 40 seconds on, 20 seconds off, 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, and then you get your rest set. So to break this down even further, you need to almost picture these as 2.5 minute long sets. While it might be easier to wrap your head around it intellectually as, oh, I have 50 seconds and then they get shorter. Okay, now it's only 40 seconds this time, 30 seconds this time. It might seem like it's easier to wrap your head around, but in practice, it's kind of a lie. Let's be honest. After you do that first 50 seconds at that 118% of your FTP, by the time you slow your legs down and adjust into that very short 10 seconds of rest, it's almost like you're at an effort and you take a turn on the road and then you're right back on the effort again. It really isn't appreciable rest. You might get 2 or 3 seconds where you're not doing much, but it's not really much by way of rest. You're not going to be recovering your legs. You're not going to be recovering your heart rate. It's almost just something to break up the set mentally. And then you're gonna go right back into that 40 seconds. So it's almost like you're going straight through, in my opinion. That's basically how it felt. After that 40 seconds, you're gonna get 20 seconds of rest, but that's really gonna feel more like 10. That's really just for you to reset your cadence. You might take a little pressure off the legs, but again, not really appreciable rest. Then you're gonna go into that 30 seconds, and after you're done with the 30 seconds, that 30 seconds off that you're going to get before the next 50-second set, that's gonna feel a little bit more restful. You're not gonna get full recovery on your heart rate, but if you focus and bring that cadence down and focus on your breathing, you can bring it down enough to reset and feel like you can hit that 50-second rep over again. So that's how I wrap my head around it. It was almost easier to realize that I'm just gonna push straight through. Those little micro rests in between didn't do a ton for me, but if I wrap my head around it, it's like, okay, I'm in this for about 2.5 minutes, then I'll get a 30-second rest, in it for another 2.5 minutes, and then I get a nice long break. That was easier for me to just not lie to myself, to know that that was what I was getting into. So after that last 30 seconds on, 30 seconds off, you're gonna get a 4-minute full recovery. Focus on your breathing, focus on your cadence. This is gonna be a good full rest, but after you've repeated this 2, 3, and then the 4th time, your fatigue is gonna start building up. So concentrating on being restful, focusing on the interval again, making sure that you're concentrating on resetting your form is going to be very valuable in finishing this workout strong. But if your cadence starts to slow down as you go through the intervals, that's to be expected as you begin to fatigue. Do whatever you can to get comfortable with it. After you finish the 4th and final set here, he gets a little bit mean with you and puts you back into the cool down, but that starts you at 75% of your FTP. So he jumps you kind of back up there again, and then you get that descending recovery down to about 40% of your FTP. But that's it for the workout. It's 60 minutes, it's straightforward. You just do the same thing 4 times, which gets more difficult with each set. And it does a good job. I think it was, for me, I think it turned out to be like 70 or 75 TSS on the workout. Decent amount of strain for a 60-minute workout, pretty efficient. So I definitely enjoyed it. I don't think this one was as difficult as the VO2 development from Zwift Academy Road, because those last 2 4-minute intervals in that workout really did break the system. This was not quite that bad, but it was a tough workout. It definitely taxed my legs. Nutrition on this one, pretty straightforward. VO2 max level efforts, bring some sugar on board. Either come in fueled up or take a gel or some blocks or something early in the workout. Make sure you've got some sugar to burn, because you're gonna need it for these types of efforts. In terms of cadence, you're gonna wanna try to go as high as is comfortable for you on these ones. Try to push between that 95 and 105% sweet spot for efforts like this. It seems to strike the right balance between contraction rate and torque on the legs. You could go higher. I started my first couple of intervals at a much higher RPM, but the contraction rate it wasn't suitable for good recovery, considering how brief the recovery valleys were. Keeping my heart rate a little bit lower turned out a little bit better as the workout progressed. So a little bit more torque, a little more rest on the heart was better for me in this particular instance. In terms of form, Try to stay in an aerodynamic position, whether you're kind of on the hoods in that 90-degree elbow bend. You can certainly do these in the aero bars if you have them set up on your indoor trainer, but try not to be on the tops or high on the hoods for this one. I think the purpose of these types of workouts is to practice executing that power as you would on the real road, and that would be in a more aerodynamic position. Most people aren't putting out VO2 max way up top on the tops. Even when you're climbing, you usually are a little bit further in the aerodynamic position to maximize on that torque and power transfer into the legs. So keep that in mind when you're on the trainer. We tend to be a little less diligent about our form when we're indoors. The last thing in terms of these workouts, make sure that you come into this one sufficiently rested. I would not go into this workout if you're very much in the red zone in terms of your fatigue or not very much on form. The VO2 max level workouts, you want to definitely put a few days in between those ones. So perhaps you do this a day after you do a nice aerobic level workout, or have a day off, something like that, because you're going to want to be able to maximize on that repeatability. As I mentioned earlier, I know we're not working super high in the VO2 max level. 118% is high, but not so high that it's not achievable if you're even moderately training your VO2 max system, but you still want to maximize on that. You don't want your heart rate going out of control. You don't want to fail the intervals, so come into it somewhat rested and ready to work. But that's about all I have for this workout. I'm enjoying the Tri Academy. It seems to be a little bit more variety in terms of these workouts on the bike than we saw in the Zwift Academy Road. Understandably so, because you're working towards a different objective here. This is more geared towards long course triathlon and that type of riding, but you're still getting a little bit of touching on all of your zones, which is certainly important in a much more well-balanced training protocol than taking all the Zwift Academy Road workouts and piling them in week over week in the same type of structure. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please leave them in the comments down below. I would love to engage with you guys more down there. If you have a second, please hit the like button. It really does help the channel and the video out quite a bit. It helps other people find these videos that it might be helpful for. Subscribe if you haven't already. Thank you as always for making it all the way to the end of the video. And as always, I will catch you in the next one. See ya.